briefing for Monday the 5th of February. I'm Stephen Ridgway. Remote desktop software is a very commonly used method of entry for attacking groups. Latest round of concerns in this space is that AnyDesk, which is it's a German-based company, but it is a very popular remote desktop solution. AnyDesk disclosed on Friday that it's been the victim of an attack that led to a compromise of its production systems. So what does this mean? Well, it means that amongst other things, the AnyDesk software signing certificates appear to have been stolen. They have been revoked now and new ones issued. However, that does mean that there is the possibility that your systems will trust software, malicious software, which has been signed by a genuine signing certificate. So what happens in the scenario where you try to install something, the signing is checked and it fails signing? Well, I think often all that pops up is something that says this isn't trusted. I know that some systems are more strict around that than others. Apple, in its native form, is quite strict around what it will and won't allow you to install, depending on signing. There are things in Windows as well, but I think it is a possibility that stuff will sneak through because it appears to be correctly signed. So watch out for that. Now, the other thing is that apparently the excuse me. Apparently, user account details have also been stolen, and apparently around 18,000 of them are currently for sale. So if you are using AnyDesk, a couple of things to do. Make sure that the version of AnyDesk software that you're running is up to date. There are links to patches that can be made available via the article that we'll release here. And also, if you are an AnyDesk user, recommend that you change any passwords you've got associated with the account or that may have been stored via AnyDesk. And as always, if you have reused that username password combination, or in fact, if you've used that password, because trying to find, guessing usernames is fairly straightforward. If you've used that password anywhere else, well, firstly, shame on you, and secondly, change it everywhere else you've used it as well, because you need to consider that password potentially compromised. And as always, if you can do it, enable MFA, 2FA, multi-factor authentication in order to add another layer of difficulty to people attempting to compromise your sites. Compromise your accounts. Yeah, you know what I mean. Mastodon has a vulnerability that allows attackers to hijack any decentralized account. So Mastodon, back when Elon bought Twitter, there was I was going to say mass exodus, but I don't think there was. So there was a steady trickle of people looking for other platforms. And Mastodon, certainly in tech and cyber, Mastodon did crop up as being a viable alternative for the sorts of things that we do. Mastodon is decentralized in the sense that you can run your own servers. consequently, the different groups may be running on different servers, may be run by different people. It's quite a nice it's quite a nice platform. Don't use it extensively myself, but then I didn't use Twitter much myself either. So there we go. However, there is a vulnerability, CVE 2024-23832, with a severity rating of 9.4 out of 10. It is described as an origin validation error, and it can allow an attacker to access any function that is inadvertently accessible to the source. So all versions prior to 3.5.17 are vulnerable, as are all version 4 versions prior to version 4.0.13. Version 4.1 versions before 4.1.13 and 4.2 versions before 4.2.5 are also vulnerable. Mastodon is withholding technical specifics, technical details regarding the flaw until February the 15th to give Mastodon server admins time to update the instances and prevent the likelihood of exploitation. Apparently, any amount of detail would make it easy to come up with an exploit. So, regardless of this not having been made public, except it now is public, expect an exploit before the end of the day. These things turn around very quickly. Mastodon's had other critical flaws, but they tend to be pretty decent on keeping on top of things. So watch out for patches and upgrades, and check your systems and upgrade them if you are running an old version. Docker security is back in the headlines again. There are 4 current vulnerabilities collectively known, when used together, are collectively known as leaky vessels. That allow attackers to escape containers and access data on the underlying host system. The flaws were discovered at the end of last year, and whilst there's no clear indication of current exploit of these vulnerabilities, there's no reason to believe that won't be coming soon, and especially because this has been brought back to people's attentions again. You would expect proof of concept code to be floating around somewhere, even if it hasn't kind of hit the mainstream yet. So the CVEs are 2024-21626, which is a vulnerability stemming from an order of operations flaw in the workdir command in runc. It allows attackers to escape an isolated environment of the container, granting them unauthorized access to the host. CVE 2024-23615, which is a race condition within BuildKit's mount cache handling, leading to unpredictable behavior and potentially allowing an attacker to manipulate the process for unauthorized access or to disrupt normal container operations. 2024-23652, it's a flaw that allows arbitrary deletion of files or directories during BuildKit's container teardown phase. Could lead to denial of service, data corruption, or unauthorized data manipulation. 2024-23653. This is a vulnerability that is based on inadequate privilege checks in BuildKit's gRPC interface, and which could potentially allow attackers to execute actions beyond their permissions, i.e., privilege escalation or access to sensitive data. Okay, So BuildKit and RunC, used by popular projects, and in like Docker and multiple Linux distributions. Patching is important for these. Let me see, BuildKit fixed the flaws with version 0.12.5, and RunC addressed the security issue in version 1.1.12. Docker has released version 4.27.0, which incorporates the secured versions of the components, and others will follow, so will or are following suit. This is particularly something that you should be aware of if you're running cloud environments and your cloud environments have internet accessibility or are available on the internet, because obviously one method that or one layer of abstraction to a lot of systems, web apps, is to run them in containers. And there is, I think there is, be careful of this, because there is an assumption that because something's run in a container, it is containerized, as in it's therefore by default secure. Well, it isn't. I think I mentioned last week something that Eliza May Austin from that security company gave talks on. It must be what, 3 or 4 years ago. So the concept of breaking out of a container is well known. Security is better now than it used to be. Historically, out of the box, certainly Docker containers were not secure. They were functional. Put on tin hat, wait for the war to kick off over that one. Finally, from me, you may be aware that Google is looking to phase out third-party cookies. If you are curious as to whether you're part of the 1% of users, which, by the way, is about 30 million people, to see whether you are part of the initial testing for this, there's an article in Bleeping Computer which gives you some things to look for, including an eye icon in the URL bar. You can look for Chrome DevTools alerts, and your settings/cookies panel becomes settings/tracking protection if you are part of this test. So if you're curious and you want to know whether you are in that, then yeah, those are some ways to do it. I've had a look and I'm not. That is all from me for today. I hope you have a good start to the week, and I will speak to you all again